Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar from me and a bit of a gloomy Hastings today. It's just gone 1 o'clock, so I'm just going to give everyone a chance to join. Do feel free to drop into the Q&A box and say hi. We've disabled the chat feature as we've discovered it can cause problems for some people using screen readers, but the Q&A option is still live. You can see the numbers going up. Hello to Jane. Hiya, glad you could make it today. Just give it a little bit longer for a few more people to join. Okay, so I think we'll make a start now. So hi everyone, welcome to our webinar, Digital Discovery at Any Age, your guide to the online world with BT Group and Amazon. I'm Annie Mannion and I'm Digital Marketing Manager, excuse me, at AbilityNet, and I'll be running you through today's session. So glad you could make it today. So just to go through a few bits of housekeeping, we have live captions today provided by Judith at MyClearText. You can turn on the captions using the CC option on the control panel. And we do have additional captions available via streamtext.net/player?event equals AbilityNet. You can download the slides if you wish and follow along on our website, and you can get them from abilitynet.org.uk/digital discovery. And then if you have any technical issues, don't worry, or if you need to leave early, you'll receive an email in a couple of days' time with the recording, the transcript and the slides on that. And then depending on how you joined the webinar, you'll find a Q&A window. So if you want to ask the panel any questions, do drop those into the Q&A area. Any that we're unable to cover in the session today, we'll try to answer and then add them to the website at /digital discovery. And then just a quick reminder, we've switched off the chat feature as we've discovered it can cause problems for some people using screen readers, but do please use the Q&A field for any comments. And then just lastly, we do have a feedback survey you'll be directed to at the end, so do complete that if you're able. So for those of you who aren't yet familiar with AbilityNet, we're now more than 25 years old, and we support older people and disabled people living with any disability or impairment to use technology to achieve their goals at home, at work and in education. And we do this by providing specialist advice, services, accessibility testing and training, and then free information like our fact sheets and this webinar. So today we're going to be discussing digital discovery at any age. And to discuss the topic today, we have joining us Caroline Martin, who is a trainer with AbilityNet on our BT Digital Skills project. And she provides digital confidence training to older people over 65 in the Glasgow and Edinburgh areas. And then also joining us is Carol Deary, who is a trainer with AbilityNet on our BT Digital Skills project in the Manchester area. And then finally, we have James O'Brien, who is training manager at Amazon, and he'll be outlining how you can benefit from Alexa and Echo products, among other things. So hopefully by the end of today, you'll have picked up some useful ideas for getting started with some aspects of the digital world that you may find beneficial. So I'm just going to start off with a poll to find out a bit more about you all. So let me just launch that. So can you tell us, how confident do you feel using technology? Are you very confident, confident, okay with some devices, not at all confident, not confident or not at all confident? So depending on how you've joined the webinar, you may find that you can't see the poll, but you can respond in the Q&A panel. So I'll just give it a few more moments for everybody to respond. See, there's a strong contender coming through at the moment. So just a little bit longer for everybody to participate. A few more people coming through. Okay, I'm going to end the poll now and share the results. So from how confident do you feel using technology? We have the highest number of responses was 48% okay with some devices, and then we're 25% confident, 21% very confident, which is great results. Then 7% not confident, and none of you have said not at all confident, which is really great. So I'll stop sharing the results now. So yeah, it's really useful to gauge the experiences of people joining us, and I think today's speakers will be able to offer some really great advice. So just before I introduce Caroline to share her advice, just to give a bit of context to today's session, as I mentioned at AbilityNet, we've been helping older people and disabled people use their technology for more than 25 years now. And many of the common things we hear from people about technology are things like, I'm scared I'm going to break it. So for example, many people receive gifts of mobile phones or tablets, and we've heard they kind of stay in their boxes for a long time. Other comments include things like, will I be able to understand it? I don't really want to use it. Or other comments have been things like, I'm really excited to see what it can do for me. So that's where AbilityNet can really help out and provide some guidance for getting started and ideas about how the tech can be a benefit, not a hindrance. So on to the next slide, please. So equally, some of the understandable reticence to embrace the digital world can be down to the new tech, the terminology used. So just as a quick summary of the common terms that you might encounter. So the internet, it's a big library of resources that are available online. Search engine is a website that's used to find information on the internet. So Google is one example, but other things you might have heard are DuckDuckGo, Yahoo, Bing. They're all sites that you can visit to then search for anything that you might be interested in. Then browser. So words connected to this are things like Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Safari, Firefox, and these allow you to view websites on the internet. Another one is cookies, which are small files that are placed on your computer by websites that you visit. They remember information about your visit, such as your preferred language. Apps is short for application, and those are programs that you can download them onto your smartphone or your tablet, and they help you carry out tasks, and they can be used for entertainment. They usually look like small square touchscreen buttons that can access websites like the NHS, YouTube, Zoom, things like that. Wi-Fi is simply connecting to the internet without wires. And then just on this list, AI is short for artificial intelligence, which is less scary and can be more helpful than you might think, and uses computers and machines to mimic the problem solving and decision-making capabilities of the human mind, but more on that later from Carol. And just to mention, as part of this, as part of the BT Group and AbilityNet partnership, we've worked with Countdown Susie Dent to create a special digital dictionary that you can download. We shared that link on our webinar page at /digital discovery. You can find that in the useful resources section. So now I'd like to introduce AbilityNet's Caroline Martin and Carol Deary, and they'll be outlining the most common tasks that older people generally ask us how to do online, and then a brief introduction to AI and how it can help, not hinder your life. So over to you, Caroline.
Thanks, Annie. So today I'm going to start off with a brief overview of some of the training that we can offer you. Next slide, please. So consider, when you're choosing a new device, consider the things that you need it for. So for example, a PC or a desktop computer is useful if you're going to be doing a lot of gaming, and you need a powerful computer and you want to increase the storage space. It's also useful for writing. A laptop will serve most people's needs. You can plug in a separate computer, a separate keyboard, mouse, and also a large screen if you need to. A laptop has a camera and a microphone in it, so you can also make video calls using a laptop. It's also good for writing documents in more complicated programs. The laptop is also portable. It's got an advantage over the desktop that you don't need a physical place to put it and leave it. Tablets and phones are ideal because they're smaller. A phone is ideal because you can put it in your pocket, and the technology in phones now is more advanced than the first Apollo rocket, so it's a very powerful machine. They work by using touchscreens, and when you press on the screen in an area that you can type, a keyboard appears on the screen. They also have cameras and microphones, so you can make video calls with them, you can take photographs, and you can share them with people directly from your tablet or your phone. The tablet has an advantage over the mobile phone because it's got a slightly bigger screen, so it's good for watching iPlayer, online entertainment. And tablets and phones you can use lots of different apps on them. The other thing that I'd like you to note that you should consider when buying a device, if there is a type of device that you use already, for example, Apple use a system called iOS, and it's advisable if you're familiar with one already to buy something the same. So if you have an iPad, you would get an iPhone, or the other one is an Android system, and there's lots of different manufacturers make them, like Samsung, Motorola, Huawei, Google Pixel. There's most of the other ones use Android. So if you have a Samsung tablet, it might be easier to learn to use a Samsung phone. And I'd like to direct you to our fact sheets, and our fact sheets have lots of useful information in there about getting to know your device. Next slide, please. So I got my first smartwatch a couple of years ago, and I love it. I'm addicted. I'm hooked. It's great for exercise. It's great for tracking your steps when you're exercising. It can also track your sleep, can tell you when you've got light and deep sleep, and also when you're dreaming. It's really interesting. It can also track your heart rate, your GPS location, and it can show notifications from your phone, like text messages when you receive a phone call and other notifications that are on your phone. You use it by connecting to your phone through Bluetooth, and all the information comes up on your phone. Next slide, please. Another powerful tool that you may already have in your home is a TV, a smart TV, and a smart TV can also let you view online catch-up TV like iPlayer and STV Player, Channel 4, all the popular channels. You can also connect phones, tablets, and laptops to it to display them on the screen to get a bigger screen, or if you're sharing maybe a video from your tablet. You can also listen to the radio, you can browse the internet, and you can also buy an Amazon Fire Stick. The Fire Stick enables you, if you have an older TV with an HDMI socket in it, you can use a Fire Stick to connect to that, and you get a lot of the same advantages of a smart tech TV. Next slide, please. So how do you make your device work for you? Next slide. So when you get your device out the box, it's not necessarily tailored to your own needs, and there's lots of simple free adjustments that you can make to help it work better for you without buying additional software. For example, you can make the text bigger. You can have things read aloud to you. You can choose an option to have captions on videos, just like this one today. You can also speak to your device, and there's some handy tools on your device like a magnifier, and you can use that to magnify. You can take a photograph of a document and magnify to increase the size of that. You can also change settings in your device to stop the screen timing out so as you get a chance to touch it. And you can reverse the colours on the screen so that you have white writing on a black background. Some people find that's easier on their eyes. Next slide, please. So here are some tips to help you when you're new to technology. So be patient with yourself. Ask for help at any time. Don't let your enthusiasm be dampened by others. Go at your own pace. Don't compare yourself to anyone. Set yourself small, realistic goals. Practice makes perfect. You're not going to break anything. And don't panic. It really will all make sense in the end. You'll get there. Next slide, please. So, do you really need an email address? Yes, I'm afraid the answer is yes. You can use it for so many things. When you're setting up your device, you will be asked for an email address. It will be used for services that you use on your device, like downloading apps, but you can use it for so many other things, like messaging friends. If you're using it for online shopping or banking, you can log into your own personal area on your shopping provider or bank provider's website, and you will be able to access things like invoices, orders, statements, and that part of their system is your personal part. You have a username and a password, and that's the security for you to get in and access that information. If you do any online courses, you can log into your provider's system and you will see where you are on the course, and you'll be able to record any of the details of any practice exercises or tests that you've sat. The next time you log back in, you'll be able to start where you left off. Similarly with utilities, government websites, you have a personal login for your GP. You can do things like order prescriptions and make appointments depending on what services your GP orders. There's also a whole load of government services out there. For example, you can go and check your tax, your national insurance, your pension. You can access all that information online without phoning anybody. So, and the great thing about this is that it's completely free. You don't need to send 200 letters in the post and pay. How much is a first class stamp now? It's a lot more expensive than it used to be. So it is completely free. Next slide, please. So setting up an email address is very easy. There are numerous free email suppliers out there. The first one is known as Gmail. That's mail.google.com. And then we have outlook.live.com. You can either search the name in a browser or type one of the above addresses into the search bar. You just click create account or the relevant option on your screen, and it'll ask you to create a username and a password, and then your other details after that. It may ask for another email address or a telephone number to send a confirmation message to. So next slide, please. So once you've set your email up, the first thing you'll see will be your email box. And to create a new email, the button to write a new email might say compose or new. If it's Apple, maybe a pen with a pen inside a square, or just be an icon. And you can ask a friend or family member for their email address so that you can practice. Next slide, please. So as I was saying earlier, the mobile phone is very powerful. There's lots of things you can do with it other than just take photographs or call people. Next slide, please. So as well as calling an email, you can chat, you can do video calls. There are numerous apps out there that will allow you to do this if you don't have one in your device already. I personally like the map features on telephones. They're very useful for getting directions, and you'll be given an option of all different ways to travel, whether it's walking, driving, or using public transport. You can also download apps from your local bus company or rail company and find journey times and purchase tickets. As well as taking photographs with your phone, you can share these through social media or directly through email, and you can also do video calls. There are lots of things you can do with your phone. These symbols down here are the App Store. And if you have an Apple phone, you'll have the App Store, and you can download apps onto your device. The one next to it is the Google Play Store. That'll allow you to download apps from Android devices. There are apps for lots of things like shopping rewards or tracking your steps or sleep. Probably any hobby you can think of. If you ask a friend that does that particular hobby, there may well be an app out there that's going to make things a little bit easier for you. Next slide, please. So a wee tip when you're using your phone or your tablet, you can zoom in and out of things on the screen. So to use the zoom, using your fingers, you can enlarge part of the display to make it bigger or closer. So to zoom in, place 2 fingers close together and move them out the way. And to zoom out, bring your fingers back together. So you can also zoom in your camera to make things bigger in your environment. You can either do it before you take the photograph, or you can take a photograph and then use the zoom in and out to do that. I had one gentleman, when he went to the supermarket, he couldn't see what was on the top shelf, and what he did was he held his camera up, took a picture of the price, and then he could bring it down so he could actually read it. So it's a really handy thing to be able to use. And most devices, I know certainly Apple devices, the newer ones, have a magnifying program already in them. So it's a very, very useful thing to use. I used it for reading cooking instructions because I can't read them anymore. So next slide, please. So using QR codes, so you'll see these out and about, maybe in menus, parking, or posters, and they're basically like a barcode. So how do you use it? So if you open up your camera and you point at the QR code like you're taking a photo, however, you do not press the button to take a photo. What you do is you line up the 4 wee corners with the edges of the barcode, the QR code itself. And once you've got it in the right place, there'll be a message pops up in your screen. You tap on that message, and that will lead you to the website for that page. And have a go with this one here and see if you can get that to work. Are we ready for the next slide, please? Thank you. And another great world of things on the phone you can get is podcasts. So podcasts are an audio or a video file that you can listen to or watch on the internet. I think of it as a mini radio programme. It's made by organisations like the BBC or individuals and bloggers. If you have a famous celebrity that you follow, they may well have a free podcast. There is a lot of free resources out there. Podcasts can cover a range of topics, including travel, news, comedy, and learning. Just go into the app and search for a topic that you're interested in. And there's apps that you can get podcasts on, include Spotify, Pandora, TuneIn, or iHeartRadio. And some phones have a podcast app built in. At the top right there, the purple one with the white microphone on it. If you have an iPad or an iPhone, you can get podcasts there, and there are some free ones on Apple. The one below that is Google Podcasts. You can also get podcasts from Amazon Music and Spotify, as I was saying. So next slide, please. Facebook. So popular social networks include Facebook. Connect with friends, join interest groups, and buy and sell. Twitter, now known as X, you can keep up to date with what's happening in the world. And Instagram, you can share photos. Pinterest, you can discover and share new interests. Next slide, please. So is social media for me? Next slide, please. So social media includes Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can connect with friends and family and people all over the world. Organisations and businesses share news, events, jobs, and products. You can join groups with common interest, from walking to local community groups. Sometimes if I go onto a company's website and I'm looking for something locally, I don't find what I'm looking for there, but if I go into the Facebook page, they may post events that are happening locally. And you can also share your news with your connections. So it depends what you're interested in. What are you interested in? Next slide, please. So some tips for social media. The thing to prioritise is how much you share. Be aware of how much you share. Limit who you share information with. Have a strong password. Set your privacy settings and report or block misuse. Next slide, please. Thank you. And that's me for today.
Hello. My name's Carol. I'm going to talk about what is AI and what that can do for me or for you. So next slide, please. Okay, so first of all, what is it? Well, AI means artificial intelligence. You may well have heard of it in the newspapers. Or sometimes you hear all the stories, scare stories, because that's what sells newspapers. But what is it really? It's computer technology that can do things that normally require human intelligence, such as learning, problem solving, and decision making. It does have aspects of reasoning, but it's not at human level just yet. So we will still need humans. But yes, the idea in the longer term is that we can get them to think and act like humans, but we will always be required. Next slide, please. So you hear the term Gen AI, and that means generative artificial intelligence. And this has been in the news because it can create things like the painting there on the right-hand side. So it can also write books or poetry, it can write music, it can show you ideas. It does use the broad range of the internet that's out there, and there's a heck of a lot of information. And it can bring it together to create new things that are used from those templates of things that are out there already. So in a way, it's a bit like having a robot writer or an artist or a poet or a composer that can create by itself. Next slide, please. But understandably, some people do worry that, well, if this is going to do all these wonderful things, it can lead to job losses. And that we've heard these scare stories as well, and that robots will take over the world. So like the old films, you know, iRobot, etc. Are they going to become sentient and have feelings and take over? Well, I think we're a very, very, very long way from that at the moment. But the main concern at the moment is it could be used by criminals. And we already see that, for example, there was a very famous Martin Lewis video that seemed to be advocating some investments. And it turns out that there was a complete and utter fake. You can actually tell a little bit by the way somebody looks against their background. However, they're getting clever with that. And it's the same old story. If it sounds too good to be true, I always think, well, it is. But what about all the positives out there? Next slide, thank you. What can it do now? Well, it's already actually working for us. If you're using television services like Netflix, Amazon Prime, or even YouTube, it can make recommendations on your viewing habits. In the old days, it used to use algorithms, but now it's actually using artificial intelligence to make even better recommendations. Also, it is actually starting to be used in, well, for us, the NHS, but in medicine generally, for healthcare diagnosis, monitoring and potential treatment. However, that is always moderated by professionals. So what I mean by that is that people like consultants will always look at it and they will give their opinions and make sure that it is the right for the people. It's not that they're taking over. But the good thing about this is it's a tool to help those consultants and the doctors and the nurses, because it helps to decrease waiting times for people going into hospitals. It diagnoses quicker. Also, you might see, especially in places like China and Japan, they're already serving food in restaurants. Okay, that's quite fun. I have actually seen one in action. They are a bit quick off the mark, though. If you haven't got your plate, they can run away. So, you know, they're not perfect yet. And the other one is finding out information and even having conversations. For example, if you use Alexa or Siri, which is on Apple. Alexa's Amazon, by the way. Siri is Apple. Copilot, which we're going to look at very briefly in a moment. And Gemini, which was, it used to be called Bard, which is from Google. You can have conversations with it. And what I mean by that is, I mean, it's actually getting better, that you can actually have conversations and get opinions. However, it means that you get tailored things that to you, rather than you having to go through the internet and that massive load of websites that come up. It comes up with something like 1 million, saves you having to go through all that. So let's have a closer look. So next slide, please. So we talked about finding information. We've already got that there. But not only that, it's already doing the dirty jobs. So if you think about recycling plants, there was one in the Northwest recently that I saw on local news, where in a recycling plant, artificial intelligence is actually using robot hands to pick out the disgusting things from recycling that sadly people still occasionally put in there, such as dirty nappies, dog poo bags. Anyway, so it's doing the jobs that none of us really want to do. So this is where it's going to come into its own. Reducing the time to do jobs, and so it releases people, us humans, to become more creative and innovative instead of doing the slog that often we have to do in our roles and, you know, day-to-day activities. Okay, so next slide, please. So these are some to try. Now, when I mentioned before about Copilot, these are where you can talk to them. That is actually in Microsoft ChatGPT. It's run by ChatGPT, but Microsoft have also teamed up with them. And you can actually, it's already on the search engine Microsoft Edge. And if you see that symbol that's on the left there of where it says Copilot, if you see that symbol and click on it, you will see that you can actually either type in or press the little microphone and you can actually talk to it as well. It will talk back to you. You've got to be a bit careful with some of these as well, because biases can exist at the moment in artificial intelligence content. What I mean by that is the wider internet has obviously been contributed to by a lot of people with a lot of opinions. So occasionally it might pick up some content you think you wouldn't necessarily agree with. But the words according to you find has now been added. I've noticed it on Alexa and I've noticed it on some of the others. And it will say according to, and it'll tell you what the source is for the response that it's giving you. So that gives you a little bit more idea about where these answers are coming from. Okay, so yeah, if you can talk to it, then it can do so much for you. It can write letters, it can provide an image, you can ask it anything without having to go through all that searching. So next slide, please. So the other day, I clicked on that little symbol in Copilot and I said, write me a poem about artificial intelligence. It wrote a few stanzas, so those chapters within the poem. And I thought, no, that's too long for what we're doing today. So what I thought we'd do instead is have what I asked it then to make it smaller and something that I can actually read out today. And here's what it gave me. And I think it's quite nice. In circuits and silence, an AI thrives, a symphony of data where insight arrives. No breath, yet it learns. In the digital tide, a spark of the future, forever our guide. And there you go. I thought that was quite cute. You might agree or disagree. But it's amazing that it can do that by just asking it to. Okay, so next slide, please. Yes, of course, in conclusion about artificial intelligence is that there are ethical, political and safety concerns that governments and experts are already looking into. You know, we talked before about fake videos, we could have fake images, etc., because it's not only text, it can do images, it can do all sorts of things. But it's because the technology is running ahead of the people who got the safety concerns. But we've had this before, don't forget, the Industrial Revolution that we had in the past. You know, the technology ran ahead of how good it was or not for humans. So this is something we're used to. So this is another revolution in the digital world. So as I say, you don't have to type, you can have it read out to you, and it's fun. You know, you can ask it anything. You can then ask it to change it. You can have conversations. So yeah, just try it. I recommend everybody, if you even go into Microsoft Edge or into Google and write either Copilot for Microsoft or Gemini for Google, try them out. I guarantee you'll love what it does for you. You can ask it for recipes, anything. It's just so helpful. So thank you. You're going to be able to listen shortly to James, who will hear more about how artificial intelligence is already being used in products. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Carol and Caroline. Some great ideas that hopefully you'll be able to take away and you know, help you with common tasks that you might want to master. Just to flag, if anybody watching wants to know more about social media in particular, you can contact our wonderful volunteer service who can set you up with an account and help you get the privacy settings right for you. So just do give us a call if that's of interest on 0300 180 0028, and I'll share more information about how to contact us later on. So now over to James O'Brien from Amazon, who's going to run you through some of its key products.
Thank you so much, Annie. And yes, great to be here, everyone. And just a quick intro. So I'm James and I work at Amazon and I look after really devices that have Alexa incorporated in it. So you may see like your Echoes or your tablets, your Fire tablets or Kindles and your Fire Sticks as well. And if we can just go on to the next slide, please, Annie. So as mentioned, in terms of our Amazon Echo range, when we talk about Alexa, a lot of people think maybe it's just in Amazon Echoes, so an Echo Dot or an Echo Show. And to kind of give you an example here, when we mention Echo, we've got two kind of versions of it. We've got one which does not have a screen on it, so they will be smaller, like the one you see on the screen there is an Echo Dot with clock. Or we have devices that are called Echo Shows, which have actual screens on them. So we range from 5-inch, 8-inch, 10-inch, up to 15-inch screens as well. And I'll kind of go through of what you can do on these devices. So if I just go on to the next slide, awesome, thank you, Annie. So in terms of Alexa, we spoke about AI on the previous slides with Carol and Caroline. When we look at Alexa, it's effectively with AI, it's when you have one of these devices, it's what we classify as a wake word. So when you say the name Alexa, you'll either have a blue line come across your Echo Show, so one of the screen, or you'll have a ring go around the ones without the screen. And what that means is that it's picking up your voice. So when you say Alexa, it's a wake word, and then you effectively ask it to command. So play music, play the radio, turn off my lights, and I'll go into to more of this as well. So one thing is to bear in mind, so when you have these devices, it listens to you, and it will effectively store your what you've asked it, and it puts it in the app that you have, an Alexa app, or it will be on the device as well. You can actually go and see your history, and you can delete any recordings on there if you don't want it to hear the recordings that is picked up after you say the wake word. However, the more you utilize these devices, the more it learns over time. So I know it's been mentioned things like algorithms and learnings and things like that on the previous slides, and it's very much like this. So if me and my family, when we use this and we ask it to play music, it starts to learn the music that we kind of like, and it starts to play those kind of those bands or the music on there as well. If I just go on to the next slide, please. So with our kind of devices that we have, one thing that was mentioned on one of the previous slides, when we spoke about email addresses and to have an email address, the one thing you need to have when you set up an Amazon device, whether that be a Kindle, an Echo, a tablet, or a Fire Stick, is you do need to have an Amazon account on there. You don't need to have a subscription, you need to have an account. So by having an account, you need to have an email address. And then once you sign in, you're then good to go. So to kind of give you an example, I utilize these devices a lot, and so do my family and friends. And if I look at I speak about my mother and how she utilizes these devices quite a bit. And my mother she's in her 80s. She doesn't have a smartphone. However, she uses Amazon Echo. She uses an Echo Show. And one thing she has is an Amazon account. So she signs in, she has no subscriptions, and she uses it for two features. She uses it for the radio. She is from Southern Ireland, but she lives in London, and she plays a radio station in Southern Ireland every day. And that's the main feature that she uses it for. She doesn't pay for any subscriptions on that. And the other thing about this is most people, when we talk about these devices, we do talk mainly about music and radio, but there's a lot more you can do on there. So in terms of, again, mentioned on previous slide, like podcasts and Audible, you can then broadcast them through these devices by just asking Alexa, can I listen to this book, this Audible book? But that's when you will start to have kind of subscriptions on there as well. Again, mentioned on previous slides about video. So you will be able to get things like Netflix, Prime Video on these devices too, and you can actually stream movies when you're going through there as well. So it's not just music and radio, and that's kind of what I want to get to on these slides about how it can benefit all demographic who own these devices. If I can just go to the next slide, please. Right, so these are kind of main areas. So I'll use kind of personal examples of how we use these. So in terms of timers on these devices, whether it's a screen or not a screen, or you have a tablet with Alexa built in, I use these daily in terms of putting a timer on at home. So when we're doing the cooking, we'll put like a 12-minute pasta timer on. Or if we put something in the oven at the same time, we can then say put a 15-minute chips timer. And it names the timers as well. And rather than me having to use my phone or use a clock, then the alarm will go off as soon as you say that. And you can just say stop timer. The reminders is another one, how we can kind of utilize these devices. So if we look at things like reminders, I utilize this once a week, and it's basically to put the bins out on a Sunday. So I'll say, Alexa, a reminder every Sunday at 7 p.m. to put the bins out. My bins get collected on a Monday morning. So this then means I can go every Sunday, I get a reminder to go and put the bins out on a Sunday evening. Calendar and emails. And we kind of look at these as hubs. You kind of see on the screen there, that middle section is a calendar. So we utilize this at home as well. So I actually link my devices up to Google Calendar. And today I will have this webinar, and then I've got training afterwards. So on my devices at home, and on my app, it will also show me the meetings I have. And even if I don't have a screen, I can just say, Alexa, what's in my calendar for today? And then it will tell me what's in my calendar on there as well. And then the other part of it is like lists and notes. So if we look at things like lists, you can download an Alexa app on your phone. So when I'm at home, for example, and I have one of these devices in my kitchen and I'm going into the fridge and I've run out of milk or I've run out of cheese or anything like that, I can say, Alexa, add milk and cheese to my shopping list. And then when I'm coming home from work, so I've added it at home, I've then gone to work, and on the way home from work, I can then check my shopping list on the Alexa app, and I can see what I've I've added at home. And going back to the whole beginning there, is Alexa is a wake word. It stores in the cloud, so all my devices are paired together using my Amazon account. It will then pair it all that way, so I can then take everything with me, no matter if I'm at home and then I leave the house, it will be on my Alexa app as well. So it's nice and straightforward. So if you go to the next slide, thank you. I just want to kind of touch on two things here, which I think are the way, again, using personal examples. Drop-in is a feature. If you have one with a screen, for example, and this was my mum used a lot in the pandemic. She has quite a large family, and I have 2 kids, so she's got a few grandchildren. The way she communicated with her kids and her grandchildren was through this device. So there's something called drop-in. You then drop in on, for example, myself, and then she's speaking to the kids that way. So my kids, they are the 9 and 5. They don't have to use a phone. I don't want them using a phone, so they can then use these in the living room. And just to kind of give an example of, again, how this was utilised last year with my mum. She actually she fell down the stairs and she couldn't get to her mobile phone, and she actually said, Alexa, drop in on James. And my daughter picked it up at home on her Alexa device. And then she answered the call and then came downstairs to tell me that Granny, so my mum had a fall, and I managed to go around there and we took her to the hospital and so on, and all is good. But these are the kind of ways that I talk about them quite a lot in terms of how we can utilize these devices more and more on there. If we touch on the next slide, thank you. So again, smart home's another area as well. So what we can do is, in terms of smart home, I utilize smart home a lot, and when we say smart home, you have to link in other kind of brands with this as well. So for example, when you go into, if you're online and you're maybe on whether it be Amazon, John Lewis or Curry's, or you go into these stores as well, and sometimes you may see like a light bulb which is maybe like £30 compared to a £5 a standard light bulb. It's because they're probably part of a smart family, like Philips Hue, for example. And what that means is, when you get these devices, you can basically pair them together. So at home, I have some Philips Hue lights, and that basically means if I go into a living room, I can just say, Alexa, turn lights on, Alexa, turn the living room lights off, turn the office lights on, so on. And it's all about kind of control on there as well, how you can kind of control things rather than using a light switch and potentially leaving the lights on. So if I'm at home, I can actually go into, if I'm away like I am at the moment, I can go into the Alexa app and see if any lights are on, and I can turn them off as well. So that's a reason why you may see sometimes when you go into stores and you see lights that could be a bit more pricey. If they're like Philips Hue and those kind of lights, it's because of the overall you can get there. And the other ones like doorbells as well. So for example, Ring doorbell, Blink doorbell, you may see them in stores and online. If you push the button at home and someone's outside, you link it up that if you have one of these devices in your kitchen with a screen, you'll see who's at the door. If you don't have a screen, it will ring on that device as well. Similar, if you talking about the ecosystem, if you have like a Fire TV stick, you can have the exact same thing. You could be watching TV, the doorbell goes, and because you've linked it up, it then appears on your TV as well. All of these things sound like they can be very confusing to kind of set up and so on, but it is really straightforward through the app. And I think over time, what I'll do is I'll speak with Annie and the guys and see if I can maybe do some tutorial videos would be helpful, or setting up like a further session kind of going forward. Just because of time, if we can just push on to the next slide, please. Again, in terms of news and info on these products, you can ask it any question. Basically, going back to the slides I presented by like Carol and Caroline, I can ask it, so what was the score in the football last night? I can ask it for a BBC News update. My daughter uses this for, if she's got one on the screen, if she gets homework, it could be what does the narwhal look like? So she can then see on the screen, and then she can then draw that as well. There's some examples there too. And then just the next slide, please. So I just want to kind of finish on this one. So we're kind of getting better in terms of pushing the accessibility part here as well. So there's other areas in the US, they've developed it more and more and more, and it's coming more into Europe. So what you can do, if I have one on the screen and I hold, for example, my phone up in front of it, and I say, Alexa, what am I holding? It will then, you hold it straight, and it will then take a picture and it will say that you're holding a phone. For example, like a tin of soup and so on. In terms of speaking, Alexa has another setting. You can ask it to speak slower, and then it will go slower, so you can potentially understand it more. You can turn on captions on the screen, and going back to that kind of shopping list of adding things to your cart as well. So we're getting better at this, and I can add more information on how we're supporting the accessibility side more. And this is kind of on, for example, our Fire TV sticks as well. When you go into it, there's accessibility menus, which you can then select certain things. And now when you set up an Echo Show, there'll be bits at the beginning where I'll actually ask you if you want to set up accessibility rather than going into the settings to do that too. Is there another slide on this? Perfect. So I want to kind of leave some time for some questions at the end, but if anyone wants to, feel free to kind of drop me my details on there, my email address. If anyone wants to drop me an email, then feel free to do so, but more than happy to kind of come back in the future and do some presenting or do some videos as well for everyone. And that's it from me, Annie.
Oh, thanks so much, James. Yes,
No
yes,
worries.
please do the tutorial videos you mentioned, and yeah, thanks for all the valuable advice. And just a quick reminder, I think there was a question asked about the slides. So yeah, all the slides are available via our webinar page at /digital discovery. So I just wanted to check in with everyone again to find out about your confidence with tech, having heard the ideas from our guest speakers today. So here's just another quick poll for you. One moment. So I think you should be able to see that now. So are you more confident about delving further into the digital world, having heard the suggestions from today? So the answers are yes, I've picked up some ideas to try out. No, I'd still like to know more. I'm not sure, or not applicable. And just a reminder, you may not be able to respond on the poll itself, but you can reply in the Q&A panel. So I'll just leave this a little bit longer for people to answer, just so I'm aware we need a bit of time for us answering your questions at the end. So just a couple more moments, and then I'm going to end the poll now and share the results. Oh, that's great responses. So the top response is 78% is yes, I've picked up some ideas to try out. We've got 14% who are no, I'd still like to know more. So yeah, there's lots more to learn. So we can definitely help with lots of ideas for that. 6% not applicable, and 2% are not sure about the confidence with delving further into the digital world. But do get in touch with us if you'd like some more help with any of that. So I'm just going to stop sharing. And so just moving on to the next slides, you've met Carol and Caroline from the BT Digital Skills team. And we also have opportunities for free in-person digital skills support as part of this project. So that's available to older people over 65 in London, Birmingham, Manchester, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Cardiff and the surrounding areas. And you can find out more about that at /BT Digital Skills. You can ask for training on the selection of topics, including staying safer online, using social media, accessing public services, banking, shopping online, and more. So please do get in touch. And we just have a little video to show about how AbilityNet can support you in those areas. And if you are in any other part of the UK, please do get in contact and our tech volunteers will be able to help. So Louise is just going to share a video now.
BT Group has partnered with AbilityNet to boost the digital skills of 5,000 over 65s, helping them make the most of life online. Through one-to-one and small group digital skills training, we'll help people achieve their goals, boost their confidence, and stay safe online.
So it was great having Mohammed because he's very patient.
So coming here on a Wednesday, Mohammed's helped me, whereas a lot of my family haven't got the time, they're working.
I didn't know anything. He'd done everything for me, set it up for me, put me on Facebook, put me on WhatsApp. So, you know, it's really opened a new world to me in that way.
So just to highlight, the captions weren't quite showing up on everybody's screens for that, but the video is captioned and it's available linked to from our webpage. So if you just if you would like to watch that back again, it's at /digital discovery. So we've just got a few moments to cover some of the questions that come through to our Q&A panel. So I'm just going to highlight those. Caroline, if you're there, if you're able to rejoin us for the panel, that would be great. But just going to highlight a couple of questions. So a question from Joanna. To use a smart TV or Amazon Fire Stick, do you need an internet connection? So maybe James, if that's one you're happy to answer.
Sorry, I was on mute. So to get the best experience, yes, for connection, Wi-Fi connection. So a Fire TV stick, you'll have to log into the main thing about a Fire TV stick is you wouldn't need an aerial, so it's connected via Wi-Fi. So you then go onto Netflix, Prime Video, and so on and so on. And then really for a smart TV, it's very similar experience for that. So your user experience and interface updates through Wi-Fi and things. So yeah, to get the best experience, you would need a Wi-Fi connection on these.
Okay, and then a question for Carol, talking about the AI examples. How up to date are the results from the AI examples given for Copilot, Gemini, and ChatGPT? Are you able to share a bit more of that?
That's a good question. When ChatGPT was first launched, which wasn't that, that we know about, I mean, a couple of years ago, then yes, it would only go, the last 4 years of the internet weren't taken into account. However, with collaboration with Microsoft, as far as I'm aware, it's now up to date. And the free version of ChatGPT, because you can access it standalone. I believe the non-free version is now a year behind. Sorry, the free version is a year behind, and the paid version is up to date. So Yeah, that's my understanding. If anyone knows any different, then please let me know.
Okay. I'm just very conscious of time. We've just got chance for one question now, but we will gather up a lot of the questions that have come through and answer them online on our webinar page. So do check back in the next few days for your responses. But just one more question for James while you're here. It's, which apps are compatible with Alexa for shopping for groceries online?
Yeah, so I saw that one. I think the person mentioned they were in Canada, so I'll have to. It's region specific. So whether they're based in Canada or they're on holiday in Canada or coming over here, it's dependent on region. So then I can come back on that in more detail. Yeah, region specific.
Okay, great. Well, just to say thank you all so much for your questions, and yes, we will respond to the questions that have come through. So just to cover last few bits in the end of the webinar. So just as mentioned, we do offer free IT support at home and online alongside webinars and fact sheets, but you can call our helpline on 0300 180 0028. You can also contact us at /at-home. And if you would like to share your tech skills as a volunteer, then we'd love to hear from you. And you can contact us at /volunteer. And then we run online training sessions at /training. So there's lots of courses coming up. And we also run courses on neurodiversity, hearing loss, sight loss, and physical disabilities. So do have a look at that at /training. And then you can also sign up to our newsletter for the latest advice about inclusion and various accessibility issues. So you can also keep it up to date with other webinars that we have, which are all free at /webinars. So coming up, we've got a session that goes into a lot more detail about AI and how it can help disabled people, and that's on Wednesday, the 17th of April. You can sign up for that now, and also dementia and simple tech tweaks that can help, and that's on Wednesday, the 10th of July. So do sign up for those if that's of interest. So just thank you very much again to everyone who's joined us, and do complete the feedback form you'll be directed to at the end, and we'll be in touch with you soon with all the resources to share. So thanks everyone, and see you at the next session.